Hello everyone and welcome to Been Watching, where I talk about what I've been watching. So let's get right to it with Tarzan, a movie that needs no introduction. It's part of the Disney Renaissance, you've probably all seen it, but let's give it an introduction anyways. Raised by apes after a leopard killed his parents, Tarzan has become king of the jungle, but he begins to question who he is when a British expedition sets camp in the forest. First off, is there anyone who didn't grow up on this movie? I just assume it's one everyone has seen because for me it was in rotation regularly in my VHS player growing up as a small kid. One of the things that stood out to me most as an adult was its use of language. Of course, Tarzan can't speak English, but when he talks to the apes, it's focalized through his perspective, so we understand it through English even if he's not speaking it. Then when he meets Jane and the others, of course, he's just learning the language, he's not good at speaking it. And this could have been confusing if the movie weren't done so well. Once he meets the Englishmen, he doesn't interact much with the apes for at least that part of the movie, as he's learning the English language. In fact, that's a plot beat that he's been hanging out so much with them rather than his ape family. But that division of time allotted to the apes and then the people makes it really easily digestible. I could imagine if done poorly, the use of language could really confuse an audience, but since the division is done really well here, it mitigates any confusion. The movie was directed by Kevin Lima and Chris Buck. I know Kevin Lima from the Goofy movie, and understanding that, I think he was the perfect call for this movie. One of the things I really like about the Goofy movie is that it takes the classic character of Goofy but elevates his character. He's a father now, so it's an interesting mesh of classic and modern. And this is also exemplified in how Lima handled the music of this movie, which reminds me of a funny quote from him where he said, "I did not want Tarzan to sing. I just couldn't see this half-naked man sitting on a branch breaking out into song. I thought it would be ridiculous." Hence how we got this interesting execution, where rather than the characters singing, instead their emotions are embodied by a non-diegetic Phil Collins. That was really fun to say. I think more films should make me repeat the phrase non-diegetic Phil Collins. But once again, classic and modern. It has that feel of a Disney musical without the campy hokiness of the medium. I also like its theme of identity exploration, and I understand how this could have become problematic in a way. It of course didn't, but the idea of Englishmen coming and quote-unquote civilizing a wild man could come off as colonization today. But the movie avoids this problem because of Tarzan's hand, which is once again very symbolic of his identity exploration. He puts his hands on the apes, he puts his hand on, of course, the iconic scene where him and Jane's hands meet. But what I mean why Tarzan's hand is so important is look at the famous sequence of I Wanna Know. His hand is on the film projector. He's wanting to see more and more of the culture. He's in control. He's steering what he wants to see. So I think that helps it remain watchable today. It's not thrusting culture onto him, he's exploring culture. Also, one of the hardest Disney villain deaths ever. My girlfriend and I still felt it, especially seeing that shadow, like, oh gosh. Like, remember in animated movies when characters didn't just die, they freaking died? Also, I mentioned Jane, who is such a fun character. I like that she is an artist, so she exemplifies some heart and emotion, of course, but also she is drawing these new creatures for the sake of information. She's interested in Tarzan's life too, so it's a magnetic combination of heart and intellect. Also, I can't help but think about the inevitable Tarzan live-action remake, where you're gonna get some director in front of a camera going, in the original Tarzan, Jane wore a dress in the jungle. Oh, what? But don't worry, we put some pants on her, and Disney's gonna feel really cool because they regurgitated the same girl boss archetype Hollywood keeps doing over and over. But that's yet to come, so until then, let's move on to the next film I watched. I'm gonna start with a small clip of it. Here you go.
Hey, Brian. What's up, Brian? Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
You guys having a good summer?
Yeah. It's better now.
Yeah, that's the movie I watched. A real movie. Cool summer. Errol and his buddies inch closer and closer to the first day of middle school. To Errol's dismay, the gang tags along with a suspicious, strange man who promises to make their summer a vacation to remember. Cool Summer is actually the second movie I've seen by this director, Evan Jacobs. The first was Insect.
Morning. Did you sleep in my room last night?
I'm gonna have a soda.
No.
Yes, it looks like that too. Coming from Insect, the horror, or it might be more accurate to say unease, is way better executed here. A lot of scenes start off settling into the moment, letting the music play out and set the scene as well as atmosphere. There were moments in the film that made me feel genuinely uneasy, and I guess this is about as long as I can withhold from talking about the elephant in the room, the visuals. Yeah, okay, get it out of the way. This movie looks like a kid animated it. It looks like MS Paint. Yeah, I know. But I'm willing to look past it. For every movie, at some stage of production, it will look like a rough animatic, but you have to see past it to see what the movie could be. Now, that probably isn't the best analogy because the animatic isn't the final product. Whereas with this movie, it looks like this, and this is the final product. But understanding movie production, I know that you have to see what a movie will be before it's become a movie. So, for me at least, I can look at this and imagine what the director was going for. Not everyone's willing to do that, and that's okay. I'm really surprised I got my girlfriend to watch this after I also got her to watch Insect, and she is one who can't look past the visual qualities of this. But for me, a good script is a good script, so how is the writing here? I like that it's a sort of twisted coming-of-age tale in a way. Errol is learning that some friends are better off not being friends, a lesson that I think is really relatable for anyone who's gone through high school or middle school. But that's about where my compliments end. The characters are written as though they are 15 or 14. It's a bit oddly perverse.
Don't forget to give me back my dad's butt magazines. I want to get him back in his closet before he comes home.
They came off like high schoolers to my group of friends and I watching, but really they're 11 or 12, which they do not feel like it. I think that might be due to this being positioned as a prequel to his first animated film, 1984 to 85. Yes, he's made 3 animated films and another coming out pretty soon. But beyond the weird writing for the characters, it really sits in its conflict. It doesn't run, it doesn't walk, it sits. A conflict should evolve through a story, but here the same plot beat repeats. Should we trust Thomas? Oh, he seems a bit weird. Oh no, he did something weird. Should we trust him? And then one of the friends is like, nah, I think he's cool, and keeps this cycle going. I get that it's part of the theme that Errol should ditch his friends because they're instigating the problem, but there are better ways to do it than creating an immobile narrative for most of it. And one of the friends, Brian, is really intolerable, insulting Errol and keeping this conflict going and going until it's almost undeniable that this guy is bad news. I get that Brian is supposed to be a bad friend, but Errol not just ditching these guys, or really telling them off, made Errol look like an idiot. After a while, I just really didn't want to follow this set of characters. Also, I'm going to cover the ending. If you care, skip to this point, but anyways, I'm gonna go for it. In the story, there is a serial killer going around the town, and the group of kids don't know if Thomas is the killer, aka the ghost, as he's named on the news. And at the end, a guy who looks like Thomas is arrested, and a black car that looks like Thomas's car drives by. So here's the question. Was Thomas the killer? Did they catch him, or just some guy who looks like him and he's still on the loose? This could have been a good paranoia ambiguous ending, but it doesn't hit in the movie actually. Because at one point in the movie, Thomas offs 3 people in one room, so whether or not he is the killer, he is a killer anyway. So there is no ambiguity. Either way, he's bad news. What does the ending really change? So I did not like it, even though the tone is done better here. The writing is better in Insect, but even then I think that movie was just okay, and I feel a little bit futile in my efforts. I'm glad to give the movie a fair shot and a fair review here. I like respecting the art form, even though I understand that most people will look at the movie and pass judgment on whether or not it's worth their time just based on how it looks. And in a visual medium, I can't blame them. But I wanted to end this on an interesting note. On the trailer for Insect, a comment says something along the lines of, "This movie sucks," and the creator of these movies actually commented something along the lines of, "Yeah, I respect your opinion, but I at least appreciate that you watched it." I'll show a screenshot here. So regardless of these movies and how one of my friends called it outsider art, I admire his openness to criticism. In fact, it made me a bit happy when I looked on Letterboxd and saw that there seems to be a following for his films. So to end on a happier note, I guess, I am pretty glad that even little movies today on the internet can be appreciated by some people. But anyways, on to the next movie, which is the absolute opposite. Once again, I'll be surprised if there's someone in the comments who hasn't seen this movie, Disney's Zootopia. Judy Hopps is the first ever bunny police officer in the city of Zootopia. However, she finds the force still belittles her talents. Hoping to prove herself, she teams up with a fox from the other side of the tracks to get to the root of a mysterious missing person case. Okay guys, I have a deep dark confession about this movie, and it doesn't involve any illustrations of Nick Wilde. This is the last movie I've seen in theaters. Yeah, it's been about 8 or 9 years since I've been in a theater, not counting film festivals showing student films. This is the last time I've been in a theater for a movie. And yeah, I have a film degree and I haven't been in a theater in almost a decade. Wow. For one, I had forgotten just how funny Nick is as a character in this movie. It makes me a little sad that him and Judy are going to be partners and more better acquainted in the next one, when he can be really mean in this one. Like, he really lets loose at Judy sometimes, and it just makes their interaction spicy. It's fun. It's also just a fun world. I understand that sequels have a bad rap among film fans, rightfully so, because there are often unjustified sequels, but I think that this film really deserves a sequel because of the world, not just the world, the town where they have all these biomes to accommodate so many creatures. You of course want to see more of it, at least I do, so I'm quite happy it's getting a sequel. Speaking of the metropolis that is Zootopia, the opening montage is such a great introduction to the setting. The way it shows how every little bit of the town works and accommodates all these animals. It is a superb means of visual exposition. It's a socially charged movie, and a pretty intellectual one too. I was taken aback by Nick Wilde's backstory when he says,
"If the world's only gonna see a fox as shifty and untrustworthy, there's no point in trying to be anything else."
Which reminded me of the sociological theory of label theory, which suggests that people conform to the traits associated with the labels given to them. A self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, and that bit of sociology added depth to the movie and character. And having mentioned the social aspects and Nick Wilde, I can't avoid this any further. That is the reason why people have turned their backs on this movie in recent times. And that is the ending. No! How dare Nick accept that badge? ACAB, ACAB! One of the things I find interesting about this movie is the relationship between characters and authority. Of course, Judy Hopps dreams of being a police officer. To what degree this is a response to inequality, I can't say, considering that everyone she grew up around, or at least most of them, were bunnies. But my prime example here being when she enters the police force. She is treated as a mere meter maid and seeks to be seen as better. So once she's there, she faces inequality and seeks to overcome it by achieving a higher level of authority, an actual officer. Tiptoeing around spoilers, although once again I'll be surprised if you haven't seen this movie, the villain uses a conspiracy to achieve a higher level of power. They do this motivated by feeling underappreciated by a certain other character. And now the kind of infamous scene where Nick, who had faced discrimination, becomes a police officer. Really, the movie shows the strength representation in these levels of authority can have. So to me, Nick Wilde becoming a cop at the end isn't propaganda, it's further evidence of one of the movie's themes. Yeah, I'm a bit bitter about how some people treat the movie today, but that's because I think it's a smart film, especially how it treats racial topics. It actually reminded me of a film I talked about a little while ago, Metropolis, where it's not directly allegorical, but it's allegorical to concepts. There is no animal in this movie where this animal equals this race. A lot of characters face discrimination in this movie. Like Metropolis, it's able to present these topics objectively using the context of this own world. Of course, taking some inspiration from our world, it would just be a lie to say there's nothing based in real life, but for the most part, it smartly uses this own world to prove its point, like Metropolis, and I admire that. Also, I got to watch this movie with my girlfriend. I watch most movies with my girlfriend, but physically she got to sit by me on the couch because she came over from Britain for a 1-month stay. So it was really fun watching with her. She was actually hesitant at first, worried that the way people posed this movie would change her opinion on it, but no, just like me, it's still a good movie. In the next Been Watching, I'm gonna talk about some of the movies we watched during her stay, so that'll be fun. But for now, it's the end of this video, so get to the comments. Tell me if you've seen anything cool. Tell me what you think about the movies that I've been watching. But regardless, thank you for watching this and any of my videos on my channel. So anyways, take care guys.